In a world where intimacy is often masked by expectations and stereotypes, there is an intriguing and revealing truth. Men who are dedicated to the pleasure of their partners, especially those who are not afraid to focus on oral intimacy, are not only more connected to intimacy, but deeply engaging. This behavior, so intimate and revealing, leads us to the heart of a little but essential theme: shocking psychology behind the lying man. Imagine a scenario where true masculinity is measured not by brute force or dominance, but for the ability to be present, to be vulnerable, and to connect deeply at the most intimate level possible. This is the reality of men who understand the value of serving and dedicating themselves to the pleasure of their partners, revealing themselves as true understanding of emotional and physical connection. However, although this perspective is incredibly powerful and transformative, it is often overshadowed by the shadows of ancient myths and inadequate sex education that both men and women receive early on. These myths, which paint an image of female pleasure as a mystery or even a taboo, feed a disconnection that many couples fight to overcome. What many fail to recognize is that the basis of a profoundly satisfactory relationship is not on technical perfection or sexual prowess, but in each partner's ability to connect, communicate, and surrender emotionally. Men who seek to understand and meet the needs of their partners through gestures, such as the practice of oral sex, often reach a level of communication and intimacy that is incomparable. This behavior not only expands the quality of the relationship, but also serves as a strong indicative of emotional security and maturity. These men are willing to challenge social stigmas and embrace a form of vulnerability that opens doors to a deeper understanding not only of their partners, but also of themselves. They are consciously or unconsciously redefining masculinity to something that is both more authentic and more aligned with an egalitarian partnership. But why is this so important? Because at the heart of female pleasure and sexual satisfaction, there is a simple but often ignored truth: intimacy and good communication are fundamental to the success of any relationship. And a man's ability to devote himself to his partner's pleasure, especially in a direct and intimate way, is a barometer of his disposal for this communication and connection. The disconnection that many feel in their relationships can often be tracked until the disability or reluctance to understand and meet each other's needs. This is where the solution reveals itself. By adopting an approach that values mutual pleasure and satisfaction, couples can discover new dimensions of intimacy and strengthen their bond in a significant way. Therefore, when analyzing the psychology behind the lying, surrendering, and serving man, we see not only a love and dedication figure, but also a pioneer of a new era of intimacy, an era where pleasure is shared, where the connection is deep, and where true masculinity is celebrated not in dominance, but in partnership. This is the solution to many unnamed pain, a key to a more rich and rewarding life. But what about social pressures and the stigmas that still surround this most authentic approach to intimacy? How can a man overcome the fears that keep him from truly connecting? The answer is to challenge outdated beliefs and rediscover strength in vulnerability. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Let's continue the video. But first, check it out if you are already subscribed to this channel. Here, I will bring a series of videos like this that will help you transform your view of intimacy and connection, providing deeper and more satisfactory relationships. In a fascinating journey through the universe of male intimacy, we have exploited in depth the reasons why certain men show a greater inclination to prioritize the emotional and physical well-being of their partners during times of proximity. The essence of this question merely transcends the physical aspects of intimacy, entering into a deeply intertwined territory with personal identity, as well as the complex mazes of love, fear, and ego. In beginning this exploitation, it is vital to recognize that for many men, intimacy is not limited to physical pleasure. It represents an opportunity to express love, affection, and vulnerability. A man's willingness to focus on his partner's pleasure, more than a mere gesture of generosity, is a reflection of his own understanding of himself and his emotions. This behavior can be interpreted as an indicative of a personality that profoundly values emotional connection, considering it as or more significant than physical satisfaction. In this context, vulnerability presents itself as a crucial element. Proper vulnerable during intimate times can be scary as it involves exposure of fears and insecurities. However, it is precisely this exposure that can strengthen bonds of trust and complicity between a man and his partner. The courage to face and share these fears is not only a stoic practice of confrontation with their own vulnerabilities, but also an act of surrender that fosters a deeper and more significant connection. In addition, emotional intimacy is amplified by genuine curiosity about the partner. The interest in knowing and understanding its needs and desires, in its purest essence, can completely transform the dynamics of a relationship. It is not just about asking what she likes, but of learning to read her reactions and anticipate her desires, creating an environment where both feel safe and valued. The Stoic duty to face fears in this context is a powerful tool for personal development and for the strengthening of intimate relationships. Stoicism, focusing on self-analysis and control over emotional responses, offers a way to understanding and managing insecurities that may arise during intimacy. By adopting a Stoic stance, the individual learns to maintain serenity and rationality, elements that are fundamental to create a space for welcome and mutual acceptance. Deepening further, it is important to explore how the concept of ego can influence the way a man behaves in times of intimacy. Often the ego is associated with the need for affirmation and domination. However, in a healthy and balanced relationship context, it may be that a man with strong self-esteem and confidence chooses to put the needs of his highlighted partner. This act not only shows strong emotional security, but also deep esteem and respect for the partner, qualities that are essential for a lasting and significant bond. Additionally, the importance of love in the configuration of these dynamics cannot be underestimated. Love, in its highest form, boosts men to be more attentive and considered with the well-being of their partners. He transcends the conventions of selfish pleasure to embrace a form of intimacy that values reciprocity and harmony. This love promotes a connection that goes beyond the physical, rooting in a shared understanding and mutual support. Moreover, the fear of not being up to expectations, not being sufficient or failing, can be a great driver for men to strive to be more aware of the needs of their partners. Facing these fears, especially when done with the support and understanding of the partner, can be a transformative experience that not only strengthens the relationship, but also promotes immense personal growth. Finally, it is essential to consider the role of communication in all these dynamics. The ability to effectively communicate, expressing feelings, desires, and concerns clearly and openly, is critical to maintaining a healthy relationship. Men who invest in the development of these communication skills often discover that they are able to create a level of understanding and connection with their partners that is deeply enriching and rewarding. Therefore, a man's ability to focus on the pleasure of his partner during intimacy reveals much about his personality and emotional priorities. Those who adopt this approach demonstrate a commitment to personal growth and the strengthening of the relationship, indicating that they understand and value the importance of empathy, respect, and love. Thus, when we look beyond the physical acts of intimacy, we can see a spectacle of emotional and psychological exchanges that define the essence of deeper and satisfactory human connections. In the continuation of our analysis of the psychology of male intimacy, it is imperative to address the challenges imposed by social pressures and stigmas that shape the roles of men. Often these social expectations impose an image of perfection that can distort the authentic emotional and physical expression in intimacy. True force, however, lies in vulnerability and the ability to be authentic and present, even in the face of restrictive social norms. Society often builds and reinforces stereotypes on how men should behave in intimacy. These stereotypes can promote a view of masculinity that values domination and performance, to the detriment of the expression of genuine affection and the construction of a deep emotional connection. However, by challenging these notions, men can discover a freedom that allows a richer and more satisfactory experience with their partners. The focus on presence and authenticity about perfection is essential. Being truly present at intimate moments means more than being physically available. It involves an emotional opening that allows men to connect to a deeper level with their partners. Authenticity in intimacy involves abandoning infallibility masks and allowing humanity itself and imperfections to surface, which can significantly strengthen the bond between the couple. Recognizing strength and vulnerability is one of the biggest challenges for many men due to the strict expectations of false bravery and emotional control. However, vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a powerful demonstration of confidence in itself and in the relationship. When a man allows himself to be vulnerable, he makes room for his partner to share his own insecurities, creating a mutual support environment and deep understanding. This opening can challenge stigmas that associate male vulnerability with a lack of masculinity. On the contrary, it can be the key to redefining the concept of masculinity in a way that values genuine emotional connections and mental health. Effective communication is fundamental in any relationship, but in intimacy, it plays an even more crucial role. Communicating openly about desires, expectations, and concerns can prevent misunderstandings and strengthen trust. Silent trust is not an absence of communication, but such a deep understanding that often a look or gesture is enough to communicate a lot. In addition, true confidence comes from being present and receptive rather than trying to meet unrealistic social standards of perfection. In a world that often values visible and quantifiable success, the ability to be fully present in moments of intimacy is a form of deeply personal and significant success. It is vital for men to reconsider what it means to be masculine. Adopting vulnerability and promoting genuine connections can lead to a richer and more satisfactory life experience for both men and their partners. Authentic masculinity is not in complying with a list of social expectations, but in living according to their own values and developing relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. Deepening the discussion about communication, it is important to note that it is not just about talking, but of actively listening. Active listening involves not only processing the words that are said, but also understanding the emotional context and nonverbal subtexts. This type of communication can unveil deeper levels of understanding and empathy between partners, promoting an even more robust relationship dynamic. Moreover, the ability to deal with constructive conflicts is another crucial aspect that is often ignored in discussions about male intimacy. Men are often encouraged to avoid conflict or resolve disputes aggressively. However, learning to approach disagreements calmly and respectfully may not only solve problems effectively, but also to demonstrate a commitment to the well-being of the relationship. Challenging social pressures and stigmas about the roles of men in intimacy is not just about improving individual relationships, but about a broader cultural transformation. Encouraging men to be authentic and vulnerable, we can promote a society where intimacy is understood as an equitable exchange of love, respect, and care. This is the way for a masculinity that celebrates the strength in vulnerability and beauty in authenticity. I encourage all men to redefine their practices of intimacy, paving the way for deeper and more satisfactory relationships that are built on true trust and conscious presence. True intimacy is not built with infallible techniques or perfect performance, but with presence, delivery, and authenticity. As we have seen throughout this video, men who are dedicated to the pleasure of their partners, who are willing to face their fears and challenge the stigmas imposed by society, end up discovering a much more true and powerful masculinity. They understand that the emotional connection is as essential as physical, and that true confidence comes from the willingness to be present, listening and responding to the needs of those by their side. So, had you heard about the psychology behind the lying man? Did you know that there was all this emotional dynamics involved? Put in the comments if you have been through this, or if you know someone who has felt this same pressure or challenge. I will be watching and answering to help you understand even more about this subject. The psychology behind Man Downstairs goes far beyond physical act. She reveals a man who is not afraid to connect, understands that her strength is in vulnerability, and recognizes that a healthy relationship is built on the basis of respect, affection, and sincere communication. And if there is something this video makes clear, it is that when a man decides to undress the armor of perfection and embraces authenticity, he unlocks a new level of relationship, deeper, more significant, and undoubtedly more satisfactory for both. Now that you understand the importance of presence and delivery, is it time to reflect? What can you do to transform your intimacy into something truly authentic? How can you put aside outdated patterns and adopt a more open and connected approach? The answer is within you, and it begins with the willingness to see intimacy as a connection experience and not just as a physical act. If this content has made sense to you, share with those who need to hear this message. And remember, true confidence is born in the presence, and true masculinity lies in the courage to be vulnerable. Thanks for watching here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving the next content. Until the next video.